to my channel. So I'm pretty much just going to do part 2 of what I've made throughout my college experience or years. So we're going to head back to sophomore year again, and also pretty much sophomore and junior year. So going back to my sophomore year, this is going back also to my graphic design foundations class. I wanted to just show a little bit more stuff that I made. So again, I think this is also the class that really just made me fall in love with collage even more. So okay, starting off with these right here. I don't remember what this project, like what this one was for. He was a little bit more strict with like the cutting, and I was just like, oh my goodness, like the cutting was driving me freaking insane, because he made it look so easy. He was all precise with it and everything. Everyone else, we were all struggling in that class to really get like a crisp, perfect straight line. Like, oh my goodness. And like there were certain dimensions too, but this is supposed to be like a representation of yin yang or whatever. Sort of, not really, because it looked like a dice now that I'm looking at it again closely, because if that's the case, one side's supposed to be black, but whatever. I think this was all about like like composition, or just more so like shapes and stuff. This was fun though, like despite the strictness, the dimensions, and the stress, this was fun. I believe I even still have the glue that I used for this. So yeah, because like these are some thick boards. Like that's a little bit thick. You see that? That's a bit thick, okay? But I have fun. So there's those. Oh my gosh, this one was actually like my favorite. This is when I was really just in my element. Here are these two right here. I feel like I really enjoyed this one, cause just look at it. Look at that masterpiece. This one was just like whatever. For this, for this project, what he wanted was pretty much to create something that's abstract, or more so like that no one can recognize. So if it's recognizable, is that for this one? Oh my goodness, I think so. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was. And this one's clearly like my favorite. Like, I really enjoyed this. Is there really a meaning behind it? No, but I had fun. I just love like the colors, how it came out, and just the shapes. And this is like whatever, like this sort of is taking me back to COVID. I don't know, but I have fun with these. It was a very much so crafty class, and it's like every time I'm overthinking a prompt or some instructions, I still somehow make it out with like something like this, and then I realized like, oh, you were really in your head. That was like most of my time in college, is just realizing how much in my head I was. And despite the clarifying, the questions and all that, this was also for my sophomore year, Point Park. This is when we had made some brochures and stuff like that. But I think before we even get like to the actual brochure part, this is like some, I don't even know what the assignment was, but I don't even know. I'm gonna just show it. And showing sort of won't even help if there's no context. But shapes, playing around with shapes, different compositions, and like designs, I guess. Like that sounds like graphic design to me. Playing around with designs, and I have fun. I don't know what I was doing, but here we are. It looks random as heck. Probably like, what am I looking at? Or I don't care. Understandable. Also, guys, if I'm speaking too fast or too slow, I don't know. I don't know. You can speed up to 2x. You can put it in 2x speed, or you can put it into 1.75. That's what I do. My attention span sort of been out of whack. But that's why I love reading, because it brings me back. That low-key rhyme. Look at me. Oh my goodness. But I can't tell you what the context of this was, but I have fun. And because we were pretty much all beginners in graphic design, I didn't feel alone, because we were literally all in that shit together. Actually, if I think about it, I did it backwards. My bad, guys. This was the sketch. We had to buy tracing paper, and these were the sketches. And out of all of these sketches, we had to choose however many there are over there, 5 or 3 of them, whatever. and make it, we print them out and make it come to life. This was fun. I really wish I could remember the prompt to it, because it would help so much more. Oh wait, okay, wait, playful, bold, in order. So okay, I got some context now. We were pretty much supposed to make things that went along with like the context or the prompt of the structure of order, bold, and playful. So those are what those are supposed to, that's what that is supposed to represent. So here's my playful, and I pretty much just showed you guys, but those are my sketches. Because there's some other things I want to get to, but I had so much fun. Like, looking back on these, it's just like, wow. During the time, I possibly literally just said this already in my other video, but during the time, it just seems stressful, or it's just like, what am I even doing? Does this make sense? Like, because like, yeah, I'm thinking about the grade and all that, and if I'm even making a good product. Mind you, it's just like, why am I worried about this? It's not like I'm like advanced, or you know, I don't know, like, this is just the beginning or whatever. A bit more clearly, just some sketches that I made of like a plant that I have. But oh my goodness. So moving on to the brochure. But here's the final product of what I did for my final for graphic design. We just took a random toy or whatever. I didn't bring anything, so he had stuff in the class, and I just took this. And this is not like actual words. The whole point is just to experience like making a brochure, cutting it, and you know, I had to go to like a cutting place next to our school to get it looking like this, and like front and back. But yeah, this was fun. And oh my goodness, I am such an indecisive person, because as you see, for this color scheme, right? Yeah, I was struggling, but I'm happy with it now. Why am I thinking about purple? I feel like some purple in there would have been dope, but I kept thinking about the subject itself. I'm like, what can go along with this, or what's not going to do too much? So there was so much I was thinking about. Yeah, this was fun, and like, luckily the professor wasn't like too strict. If anything, he was patient, and he did his thing with teaching us like how he wanted us to do it, or what he was like, you know, looking forward to. So that's from my graphic design class. This is from some sort of type of foundation graphic design class. Moving on to what I was going to school for, which was some photos. All right, so this is during possibly, I think, my junior year. No, this is probably sophomore, junior year, somewhere along. There was just too many classes I was taking. You know, it's always like that. You're taking so many classes in the beginning until you're not. So we're going to go into some, this is a black and white photography class I'd taken, and this was like my first time learning about like more film cameras and developing film, being in a dark room, the smell of the developer. Oh my gosh, I will never forget that. In the dark room, at first giving me a headache because I was not used to that. But here are some contact sheets. This is what this looks like. This is a contact sheet. Actually, this is probably like a bad one to show, because yeah, but here's some contact sheets. And I love me, this is RC paper, I believe, and I love me some glossy RC paper. We also, during senior year, I believe, we also had got into fiber paper. I love fiber paper because it develops faster, and it's really, the process is not that bad. It's so crazy because sometimes when the professor's explaining something, I'm like overthinking already. That's when I started getting going with the questions. Or again, she was showing us, so I'm really just trying to pay attention. But then boom, once I started doing it myself or along with other classmates, I was just like, okay, there was really nothing to it. Let's show some better ones. Like, ooh, okay, yeah, there we go. Here's a good contact sheet. Okay, ooh, my ring light started ruining it, but now that's a nice contact sheet where you can actually see what's going on in the negative, the details and stuff. So as you see, there's lines, and we would count by 3, so it would be like 3, 6, 9, and we would determine, this will let us determine like which one we're supposed to do for the contrast and highlights. So So this is the first one. Oh, this was a statue. This was a statue on our first floor by the dancing studio. Look at the, first of all, I took it. This is just my muse. I took it, but still, you see that? And that's just a strip test. And here's the other one. Another strip test, and it's a lot more lighter, and you know, it's just really helping me determine which one I should follow through with, which one's going to be too dark, which one's going to, so from highlights to the darkest to the lightest type of thing. First of all, these were some great muses. Like, it was perfect. I just had to do it. Which then follows into the final, dude, oh my goodness, the final product. This one's probably a bit too light. Then again, I also have a ring light on, but compared to this one, like, I would love to see this for this. Like the expressions, the like emotions, I love that. And here's them together. So it's just something about going through the process. And I actually fell in love with like darkroom film photography, because it's something about seeing it go from, matter of fact, no, there's a bit of anxiety to it, because you know, you put your role into the camera, you're taking your photos, and you better hope you're doing it right, because you're not going to know what it looks like until you develop it. And then once you go through that process, then you get to this point, and that's when, matter of fact, you start to see, you know, you can see what your negatives look like after you're dry off your negatives before you get to this. But it's something about this part. So something about, you know, once it goes from this to then you can actually, oh wait, and then you go through this process, right, to then actually being able to see how it comes out. You know, there's really a beauty in all of it. And that's what I really appreciate with like the professors that taught us. And not even just that, like, I love when you can tell like the professor's not just doing this for money, like they do this shit for real. Okay, they're a professor for a reason, because they're in love with it. And you know, I want to be in love with my craft. So those are some images right there, along with some other ones that I had taken. This is a different type of RC glossy paper. There's different types, because you got this one that almost looks laminated, right? And then you got this one. Dude, I wish I could feel the texture of this. But this was when I went to the Phipps Conservatory in Oakland, and I fell in love with that place. Oh my goodness, the nature, the plants, the smell, especially. See, okay, I went during both spring and fall semester. You go during the fall, spring, it's just hot, muggy. It's okay, depending on your attire, but I actually liked it when it was gloomy and cloudy, and yeah, but at least you get more color when it's spring. So this, I really love how I captured the plants here, and this was fun. I went through some shit though, trying to work the technical parts. I went through some stuff, but here's that one. And this is when I went to, I believe, White Oak Park. Oh wow, yeah, I went to the park, and this just really made me fall in love with black and white photography. And it also just made me think about like film, black and white film, like movies and stuff. I get it, I understand it, because it's just like, wow, this is a little bit blurry, but I loved it because it sort of gives like a retro type of vibe, and like double exposure. And here's like a darker version of it, dude. And this one sort of is like more ominous, but yeah, look, I'm getting way too passionate. There's nothing wrong with that though. But those are just some few like photos, because I got a lot. Those were a few photos that I had made throughout my school career, or time, experience, years, whatever. And I really enjoyed the heck out of it. And honestly, me going through some of these photos again, or just projects, makes me realize how much I sort of miss it. But we gotta let that thing simmer a little bit more, cause ugh. But I'm really glad I just made the choice to transfer to Point Park. I will never regret that. If anything, I feel like I would have regretted staying where I was. And I'm just glad I acted on an impulse like that. And I want to always remind myself of the decision I made with that. And I would love to carry that along with me for forever, for eternity. Like, oh, remember how you felt during this time? Yeah, you gotta do that again. But let me just put that in later. But yeah, that was part 2 of what I had done or made during my 5 years of college. Of course, there's way more, but that can be for another day. But again, thank you guys for watching. If you stayed this long, like and subscribe, share your thoughts, and thank you for supporting and watching.